Did someone say do a deep dive of ACOTAR? I could have sworn I just heard someone say do a deep dive of ACOTAR. Welcome to Before the Dive. What is Before the Dive, you might be asking? Well, it is the video and the conversation we have before we do the deep dive. Now, you might be like, what do we need to talk about? Well, we're going to look over what I'm going to be looking for more than likely, or at least these are the things I'm going to be looking for. It might change when I'm reading it, but these are the baselines of what we're going to be trying to analyze. This is also, I'm going to be giving the credits, which I will then give at the end of the series as well. So it's going to exist basically in a playlist. Why don't you do it for every video? I will forget and I will feel very, 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 very bad. And so I will just put it in the description so that way I feel less bad about it. Anyways, let's move on, why don't we? Okay, so these are not my copies of these books. I don't have any. I had them when I was younger. These are someone else's that are, and they're just letting me borrow them for this series. I have read all of the books besides Nesta's book. That will be this one. The last time I read it was before this book came out. Now, you might be like, Cheyenne, I'm doing some mental calculations. How old were you? I'm so glad you asked. I was in middle school. Not when Nesta's book came out, but when this series started coming out. I read it either 8th grade or 9th grade. It was when, oh, let's get this book out. Why don't we? Why don't we? Why don't we? It's not coming out. That's okay. It's a bit camera shy, one might say. There we are. When this book came out, when ACOMAF came out, is when I actually read ACOTAR. Now, you might be like, that was really young. Well, I'm going to give you a little bit of history that anyone would probably already know. So if you already know this, I love that. So new adult was not a genre that a lot of publishers or specifically a lot of retailers would market. And romantasy was also something that was not something in the market. It is kind of a new invention in the book spaces. Now, obviously, it maybe it's not a, well, we could find romantasy books before this series or in this time period. Sure, we can do that. I'm saying there was no table saying romantasy. There was no area for these to sit in at the time. So what happened is when ACOTAR Book 1 came out, what kind of happened, one probably due to misogyny, it being that women are going to probably be put in the YA section, young adult section, instead of the fantasy section like they should be, because their works are viewed as less important or less fantasy-esque that the genre in their mind requires. Now, I think it's a little bit to do with that. It also has to do with this character is 19, a teenager by technicalities. It's right in there. And the other thing is, there's not a lot of steam in this book. Well, there was some steam, but there was not open door stuff like when we get to book 2. This book had not come out, so when this book was only available, people in libraries and in bookstores decided to put this in the YA section. This book I can totally see from what I can recall of it being YA, like that's, you know, the other thing though is the series should not be there. So I was told when I was in middle school that the author of Throne of Glass, which I DNF'd Crown of Midnight, did a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And I went, cool, 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 cool. I get to try the author again. My family didn't think much of it because I had already read Throne of Glass, and they're like, that's fine, whatever. And same author in the YA section, they were like, okay, fine. They didn't think much of it. Right. And so that is how I read this series at a young age. I have read the first 3 books. Show them again, the first 3 books. I'm not taking them out again. These 3 books. Probably 2 or 3 times. No, at least 2 times. So maybe, depending on which ones it is, 3 or 4. But that was, the last time was when I was in high school. So I will have, and so I'm going to admit it, and before that I will have preconceptions of these characters. I am not a blank slate going in. I like some characters and I don't like others. I am not saying that I'm going to not give the other ones a chance or give anyone a chance. The first time I actually read this series, I did not like Nesta. The second time, we like Nesta here. The third time, Nesta is my sister. So we'll see what happens. I have not read whole books, so please don't spoil me. Now let's get into the author. I do not like the author. I don't like the things that she said. I don't like the things that she has done. I don't like that the villains or a lot of the bad guys is basically Ireland. Also Scotland. Yeah, so you might be like, then why are you doing this? You obviously don't like the author. Well, I have existed in book spaces since I was in 6th grade. I have not been posting online for a long time with book stuff, but I have existed for this um, extended period of time. And I have noticed that a lot of people, they'll force reads back into any book, whether it's romance or fantasy, it is this series. So that is one of the reasons why I'm looking at it. Now you're like, okay, so you don't like the author. What are we gonna do here? I would describe myself as someone who is not an anti, but is also not a pro. And if you're on YouTube, you're like, I don't know what that means. When I say anti, I mean book talk. Like, if you're also on though, you are going to know what an anti means. I don't want to put that much energy into hating something. I'm going to be so honest. And I feel like, what are you doing here? I want to analyze the series. I'm also not a pro. And I feel like, what does that mean? I like the series. Am I a pro? When Hulu was going to make a adaptation, an actress named Danielle Rose Wessels, Wessels, I can't, oh, I'm so sorry, followed the author. And she was bullied off the internet. I don't remember if she returned or not. I just remember that the harassment that she faced because she, an actress, had the nerve. Who, I mean, I want to be honest. If I have to watch it, I think from what I can recall, she would be a good actress. But she was bullied off and fat shamed. Yeah, so when I say pro, I am not talking about the people who like the series in like a reasonable um, extent. When I say pro, I'm referring to those individuals. Yeah, I feel like those are 2 extremes. I know. I am in the middle of it. I also think that most people are also in the middle of it. So this series is not intended to talk about the author. Feyre is the person talking to us in the first 3 books. We are going to talk as if Feyre is talking to us, right? Because we're in her mind for the first person, right? So whenever I decide to make a comment that is analyzing it, like that's how I'm going to come across it. Right, same thing with Nesta. I do not know if Elaine has any POV character, any POV scenes. That's why I'm doing this. A lot of people, when they, like I said, when they get into it, they read this series, and that is no shame from me because if this gets you into reading, it gets you into reading. I love reading. This is a hobby that I love and enjoy. Um, so if more people can come in through this, I love that. For me, I cannot judge. My third author that I read was Sarah J. Maas with Thorn of Glass when I was in middle school. So I cannot judge if someone's coming in this way. My goal is to analyze this series, um, so that way people who have also read it can engage with this, um, and to extend a little, like, hey, I know you're new, no tea, no shade. I know you're new, and I know that this is a book series that you really like, right? So if you wanna come over and if you wanna talk and see like analyzation or just listen to me, um, hi, like, and if you are new, and are at a point that you don't want to hear any criticism about a book or any analyzation of a book that you're reading, this is not the series for you. I want to say that full stop. This is not the series for you if you cannot handle someone talking negatively, potentially, about any of these characters or critiquing what they are doing. I do not intend this to be a recap. So if you are over here, like, okay, give me a recap, let's see if I want to actually read it. I would actually recommend going over to Carrie Can Read. She has done an amazing like recap of the series. She is a beautiful storyteller, and every person that I'm going to credit for inspiration and like credit where credit is due, all amazing storytellers. And I want to say that real quick. So the goal with this is to analyze so close as I possibly can and so much as I possibly can. Am I going to miss things? Yes, I am a human. Now, that's no tea, no shade for anyone, especially Carrie Can Read, of me saying, like, I'm going to analyze it. This is, honestly, towards myself, actually, I lied. My other analyzation, my recap deep dive of Vampire Academy, I did not go in with specific things I wanted to look for, and it felt to me as I was doing it as hard to navigate, and it felt like I wasn't analyzing as much as I wanted to. So when I say I really want to analyze it and I pick apart it as much as I can, it's to critique myself in my past deep dive. So I guess you want to say TR shade for me, whatever. Another thing before we get into the questions. Like I said, I'm not an anti. That also means if you are clicking on this video or on this series to see me roast completely this series, take it to the grave, all this kind of stuff, that is not what this is intended for. I am not intentionally going in to like, we're gonna make fun of this series, he he he. So if you want a good roast with Cindy, I find them really funny. And I know that they have, she has made videos regarding the ACOTAR series. And you know what? I'm pretty sure it's roasting. So if you want to roast, I'm not going to do it. That's on, who you can go to for it. That being said, if I see something in this, I might call it out. If I get, wait, what? Wait, what do you mean? what do you mean? With it, I don't plan on being mean. I'm not going to be overly nice. So I want to look for these things, and a lot of them are every time someone does something like this. So it's a trackable. So this is not everything, and it's not everything for general questions. If something comes up, something comes up. It's just before I do the deep dive, this is all I could think of, which I think this is a lot. Okay, let's actually like get into it. What are we looking for before we read? Okay. How many times does Feyre call herself a liar? How many times do other people call Feyre a liar? And how many times does Feyre knowingly lie? Like, is this just like a false belief, right? Are we being told that she's a liar, or is she actually lying? How many times does Feyre think how many times does Feyre think mean or negative thoughts about herself? How many times does Feyre think mean or negative thoughts about others? I think that's self-explanatory. Now, this is a little caveat. Are the things that she is thinking valid or justified, or are they being mean? Like, is she clocking someone, and like that's kind of mean? You know what I mean? Or is it like, clearly you shouldn't have said that? That's mean. On to Nesta, because again, she has a whole book. If Elaine is a POV character, she would be added to this. Same kind of thing, right? Right, Nesta. How many times does she call herself a witch, and how many times does Nesta get called a witch by other people? Why witch specifically is because I heard someone say Nesta gets called a witch a lot. So I use that word specifically. I chose a word for Feyre that I know she gets called a lot. And remind that she gets called a lot, so I did the same for Nesta. And then, same as Feyre, how many times does Nesta think negative or mean thoughts about herself? And how many times does Nesta think negative or mean thoughts about others? Because Nesta has a little bit of a reputation of being a little bit mean. So we're going to look into that. Like, there's this person, just, are they being perceived as mean? Are their thoughts mean? Like let's look into it, Moving on. This goes for all three sisters. How many times is Feyre, Nesta, or Elaine, right? How many times are they rude or disrespectful? Because again, Nesta has this perception around her that she is rude or disrespectful. So I want to look at all three sisters, and we're going to see. We're going to see how many times I think or someone else thinks that what they're doing is rude. Right, I think that's pretty fair. This is the same thing for all three, so I'm just going to say it the same way. How many times does Nesta, Feyre, or Elaine get told or perceived to be rude or disrespectful? Right? So same thing, but this is, instead of like how many times are we looking at it and being, okay, no, this is rude, right? But how many times are they told it, or how many times does someone else think it? And with those, someone else thinks it, or being told, all that kind of stuff, right? Are they actually being mean, or are they just saying something you don't want to hear? Okay. So now I want to get into the general questions of them all. Not that those aren't general, but those are like how many times I want to know. I want to look for that number here. A lot of these have to do with Reese. So spoilers. Light spoilers for this series. May not actually be light. Spoilers for the series. General questions. Is Reese secretly good? Is he morally gray? Or is he a bad person? I've heard so many people say, oh, he's secretly good. He had to do the things that he did. He just had to. But then I heard other people say, no, he is bad. So I'm like, is he morally gray? I'm going to put aside my personal beliefs, restart, and what this read is, I'm going to try to remember. It is what I'm picking up this time. How many times does Reese lie? And, okay, do we need to see Reese as acting on Fae morals? What do I mean by that? A lot of these secretly good type arguments are that we have to look at it as if he is not human and is operating on a different moral compass. So I'm gonna that's the question. Do we have to see him as non-human, thus as a different moral compass than the humans in the story? Now, you might be like, how are we going to do that? We're going to look to see, how do Fae think? So I'm not just saying, in the night court type of a thing. We're going to be looking at the fairies that we see throughout the series and going, is this just a way that they think, or is this just a way that Reese and his friends think? Because, you know, a friend group, they have mutual thoughts, right? They're friends for a reason, you know? So is it just something that him and his friends think, or is this we have to look at it from a different moral perspective? That's how I decided to do it. Um, and all right, we're going to move on to does the characterization of the inner circle match what we are actually being shown, right? Um, and now I'm going to go back up to number 18. But before I can do that, I'm going to need to say who my inspos are for this series. Credit for credit is due. And I'd be like, why did you do it so far in? That's because I believe if I would have done it in the very beginning, you would have skipped it. And you might skip it now, but that's okay. That's okay. So we have Jenny Nicholson. She, I believe, is the reason why we have these popular deep dive videos. Mike's Mike for Pretty Little Liars, not just for Pretty Little Liars, but that's how I found him, and I was like, oh my gosh. Then we have Carrie Conway, I already mentioned her, and then we have Shitty Book Club, and lastly we have Chase Bridges. I wanted to make sure that there was an S at the end of Bridges. My brain said bridge, and I was like, I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right, and I wasn't right. Why do I say that before this? Is one, like I said, I thought that you might just skip over it. And second is because Chase Bridges is someone that I did not credit for the last deep dive. Now you might be like, why? Because there is a line of questioning that he inspired me to do, which is, and this is a question that I am not an originator of. I'm not the originator of literally any of these questions. Is Reese a High Lord? If not, can I guess who is? Can I guess who the High Lord of the Night Court is if Rhysand is not the High Lord? Now, it'd be like it said, a person who can lie, says he is the High Lord. Now, you might be like, okay, no, he is Cheyenne. Move on. Then there's proof. And then there is proof, undeniable proof, that he is a High Lord. Thus, the questioning into it should not be something to cause concern. But if this is a theory that is out there, that's not me who originated it, and I don't know who did, then there must be proof that he is not the High Lord. And we're going to look at both of them. This series has to prove beyond my reasonable doubt that he is who he says he is. I'm so excited for that. Like, I'm literally so excited for that. And if you're like, where was this credit or inspiration going? Because maybe you don't recognize any of these people, right? But why Chase Bridges? Like, why is he included? Because he's inspired me to think, maybe I can guess. Maybe I can guess who it is before it's revealed. And if I'm wrong, that's okay. Because he's shown that you can be wrong and it's okay. Now you're like, oh my gosh, Cheyenne, it is so obvious. He says it so many times. We'll get into that. But let's look into how we are looking to see how and if Rhysand is a High Lord. We have a whole line of questioning that we're going to be looking into so we can answer this question. So that way it's not yes or no. So that way we're not grasping at straws, which the entire thing is literally going to be. Okay, so what is a High Lord? Now I can potentially hear what you're gonna say. Well, we know what a High Lord is, or it's not specifically stated. Okay. Well, how we are going to determine if he is, we need a definition of what is a High Lord. We need that for us to go forth. Are they just chosen? I was about to go into spoilers. And on top of this, how much magic or power, parentheses magic, do they have? How much magic does a High Lord have? Is it that they have majority of magic, and all the High Lords just have the most of it, or is it that they have a specialty in one thing and they're just the best in that one thing in that one court? I don't know. We're going to be looking into that because some speculation to why he may not be is his power, his power scaling compared to the other inner circle. But let's move on. How much soft power does a High Lord have? Is it that a High Lord intrinsically has a say over the land because they are chosen? Or do the people on the land somehow have a like connection to it? They have to obey. I don't know. And some might say that is incorrect if we're looking at the night court. Right. So is it that simply it depends, right? So that's another thing. Does the amount of power of a High Lord depend, right? Because we see one High Lord having more soft power than the other. What do we mean by soft power? It is the power that someone has in their walls, for the most part. I am oversimplifying it. Like if Josie comes and tells you to mow the yard, are you gonna do it? Are you gonna listen to her? Or does Josie have to do physical violence or some sort of violence to get you to do it? Right? So that is soft power, right? Can I convince you? Can I persuade you? Or do I have to resort to violence? Right? So that is more or less, probably more or less, what soft power is, right? So how much can they just is how much is what they say just goes? Easier way of saying it. And if it does depend, how so and why? I don't want to just yeah, it depends. It just depends. Why? I'm neurodivergent. I've been asking why since I can talk. Why? Why? These are all questions that I want to look at to see if, you know, if he is a High Lord or not. I don't know if I already said number 19, so I'm going to say it again. If this is a repeat, I am sorry. My brain. Another thing is, how often does Reese lie? If he is a liar, can't he be lying about him being High Lord? And with his magic powers, one might say, can you get people to believe that you're the High Lord? There's no spoilers though. Lastly, actually no, I have 2 more. Sorry, 3 more. Okay, so with those powers, right? Is anyone in the Night Court's special city, I won't say what, or where, or anything like that, is anyone in the Night Court's special city there voluntarily? Because again, we have someone with special magic powers. So are they there voluntarily or are they not? Can they leave? Okay. The last one, 2 questions. They are similar. I never understood the mating bond. I'll say I never understood it. I understand that it's like the insta love or the like soulmate thing, all this stuff. I don't understand how in practice it works. I'm gonna be honest, I don't. I'm sorry. I read it multiple times. I don't understand. And so this time around, I'm gonna look into it. I don't understand. And if someone tells me, well, I mean, like it's like more explained in a class. The series I couldn't finish. We'll see how this one goes. This is intended obviously for all four. Sorry, all five. If the next one comes out, see how it goes. Um, okay, so what are we told about the mating bond? Because I don't understand it. I don't understand. So I know that we are told what the mating bond is, right? I know theoretically what the mating bond is, but from what I can recall, what they say it is, that's not what actually happens. I'm like, sorry, I got spoiled a little bit for Nesta's book, which please don't spoil me for it. But um, next one. How does the mating bond work in practice? Because we're told one thing, is that actually what it is? Do we actually get a definition by someone with who is not connected to someone with Lisa's magic? I'm like, why are you so distrustful? Because when someone has what he can do, I then go, is this an implant? Is this what you want me to believe? The boundaries in which is this the truth, or is this just something that is being manipulated, especially if it's only coming from his friends, like, and I'm like, well, they feel it. Okay, this is also like someone who could potentially manipulate emotions, like I that is the dangerous thing, or a hard thing, in my opinion, about the kind of magic he has. Is because then you have to prove that the magic is not doing all the work, or reliant on it, right? So yeah, are we dealing with a little Gaston, sorry, Gaston, and if anyone who speaks French or anyone who is French heard me say both pronunciations and cringed out both of them or one of them, I'm sorry. Um, but those are the questions. That's why I'm doing it. All that kind of stuff. I have some post-its. Two of them are new. We have these. Those are not mine. I can't write in them and I can't highlight in them. So if you want to see that kind of stuff, you're not going to get it here. Okay, I want to say before you see this one, I reuse tabs. So we have this one, and then we have this one, which you can obviously see, where else some might have gone. And that's okay. I mean, I feel like what do you mean you for the Pontifex one, this SIBA project. Okay, hope you enjoyed this video. Goodbye.